Imagine adopting a child, only to suspect she isn't a child at all. A girl who should be in elementary school but might be a fully grown adult, pretending. Who is Natalia Grace, and what really happened between her and the people who called her daughter? What follows is one of the strangest, most chilling family sagas in modern memory, a story that sits somewhere between a psychological thriller and a heartbreaking tragedy. This is the story of Natalia Grace, the girl at the center of a mystery that remains unsolved to this day.
They say that you scammed them, that you lied about your age and came over here and terrorized them.
It's not true at all.
It all began in 2010 when Christine and Michael Barnett, a well-to-do couple living in Indiana, adopted a little girl. Her name was Natalia Grace. She was originally from Ukraine and had been living in the U.S. for a few years under the care of another family who, for reasons not fully disclosed, had decided not to keep her. Natalia was described as a 6-year-old with a rare form of dwarfism known as spondylopiphyseal dysplasia congenita. She was very small, about 3 feet tall, and walked with difficulty. Her condition was apparent, and it gave her the appearance of a child, albeit one dealing with physical challenges. For the Barnetts, adopting a child with special needs wasn't a deterrent. They had already raised 3 biological sons, including a child prodigy named Jacob, who was studying physics at Purdue University while still in his early teens. The family was proud of its achievements, and Christine, in particular, saw herself as someone who could help children with exceptional or difficult lives. From the outside, it looked like a noble decision, but it wouldn't be long before things began to unravel. Almost as soon as Natalia entered the household, things took a bizarre turn. Christine and Michael later claimed that Natalia wasn't the little girl she said she was. They said she had adult teeth. They said she had a vocabulary that no 6-year-old should have. She knew things, sexual things, that disturbed them. And most chillingly, Christine claimed Natalia once tried to poison her coffee. Other accusations followed. That Natalia had smeared blood on mirrors, threatened to stab the family in their sleep, and stood over them at night. In short, the Barnetts were convinced Natalia was not a child at all, but an adult masquerading as one. The claims sounded unbelievable, even cinematic, but the Barnetts took them seriously. So seriously, in fact, that they took legal action. In 2012, they successfully petitioned the Marion County Court to legally change Natalia's birth year from 2003 to 1989. Overnight, she went from being 8 years old to 22. The court agreed, largely because of medical documents and testimony the Barnetts had compiled. They claimed doctors supported the theory that Natalia was an adult. One bone density scan from 2010 allegedly placed her age at around 14, not 6. This discrepancy, combined with the parents' suspicions, led the court to approve the age change. That legal decision would have massive consequences. As an adult, Natalia was no longer entitled to child welfare, state protections, or even supervision by child services. She was legally a grown woman now, and the Barnetts acted accordingly. They moved her into an apartment in Lafayette, Indiana, and paid her rent for a year. Then, they moved to Canada with their sons, leaving Natalia behind. According to the Barnetts, she was now an adult and capable of living independently. But questions began to surface. If Natalia really was just a child, abandoned by the very people who were supposed to protect her, what did that say about the system that allowed it? If she was an adult, why did she still act so childlike? Natalia, for her part, maintained that she was born in 2003. She said she never tried to harm anyone, never pretended to be older, and was simply a young girl with a disability, misunderstood and thrown away. For several years, the story stayed quiet, but in 2019, the Barnetts were charged with neglect of a dependent. The case gained national attention almost immediately, with headlines painting Natalia either as a victim or a villain. Either she was a little girl abandoned by her adoptive parents, or she was a grown woman running a con so deep it fooled the entire legal system. The charges were based on the idea that Natalia, regardless of the court's decision, was in fact still a minor when she was left alone in that apartment. The prosecutors argued that medical evaluations supported a much younger birth date, including one from a doctor who saw her in 2010 and estimated her age at around 8. Public opinion was sharply divided. Some believed Natalia was a sociopathic adult who had tricked everyone. The case was eerily reminiscent of the 2009 horror movie Orphan, where a woman poses as a child to infiltrate a family. That parallel fed conspiracy theories and fueled sensational headlines. Others, however, saw a more disturbing picture, one in which a vulnerable child, already abandoned once in her life, was discarded again and treated like a monster. They argued that the Barnetts had constructed an elaborate defense to rid themselves of the responsibility they had willingly accepted. In a 2019 interview, Natalia spoke publicly for the first time. Sitting beside her new guardians, Antoine and Cynthia Mans, she tearfully described how she felt betrayed and confused. She insisted she had never tried to harm the Barnetts and didn't understand why they accused her of being something she was. Her new family had taken her in when the Barnetts left her behind, and they insisted Natalia was a kind, childlike person. She was now enrolled in school and undergoing tests that would again try to determine her true age. In 2022, Michael Barnett stood trial for neglect. The trial became a media circus, with both sides presenting conflicting versions of reality. Prosecutors argued that Natalia had been mistreated and abandoned. The defense claimed the Barnetts had done what they thought was right and had followed the law after her legal age was changed. Witnesses were brought in. Medical experts clashed. Photos and documents were displayed, each side trying to prove whether Natalia was a child or not during the key years of abandonment. Ultimately, Michael Barnett was acquitted. The court determined that, because Natalia had been legally declared an adult, the charges of neglecting a minor could not be proven. Christine Barnett's case was dropped shortly afterward, but the verdict left a lingering question that no courtroom could resolve. What is the truth about Natalia Grace? Since then, Natalia has continued living with the man's family and has tried to move on with her life. But the scars, both literal and emotional, remain. The media frenzy didn't stop with the trial. In 2023, a docuseries titled The Curious Case of Natalia Grace aired, reviving public fascination with the story. It featured exclusive interviews, psychological profiles, and new footage. It showed a deeply fractured story, one where truth and lies blurred so thoroughly that no one, perhaps not even Natalia, could separate one from the other. In the end, Natalia Grace's story is not easily explained. It's a case where medical science, psychology, and the law collide in ways that leave more questions than answers. How could so many professionals arrive at different conclusions about her age? How did a family go from rescuers to alleged villains? Did Natalia ever pretend to be someone she wasn't? Or was she a convenient scapegoat for a family that couldn't handle her needs? What we know is that Natalia suffered. Whether she was a child or an adult, she was tossed between families, accused of terrible things, subjected to intense scrutiny, and forced to defend her very identity. The truth may never be known. Natalia's birth records from Ukraine are difficult to verify. The passage of time only muddies the waters further. If she was born in 2003, as she insists, she would now be around 22. If she was born in 1989, she'd be 36. But age is no longer the only question. The heart of this story is about perception, how we see others, and how quickly suspicion can mutate into fear. It's about what happens when the systems designed to protect vulnerable people fail, and when families are left to navigate that failure alone. And it's a story that continues to evolve. As of now, Natalia is doing her best to reclaim her narrative, to find some sense of normalcy after years of chaos. She may never get the answers she deserves, but her story has forced many to confront how we treat people we don't understand. Was Natalia Grace a con artist or a child failed by everyone around her? Maybe we'll never know. But what's clear is that this story, as wild and as surreal as it sounds, is painfully real, and it leaves us all with one chilling thought. What if you couldn't even prove your own age? What if your entire identity could be rewritten by someone else, and no one believed you? Thank you for watching. If you found this story as perplexing and unsettling as we did, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep-dive documentaries into strange and unexplained true stories. Until next time,